So you know that there is a solar eclipse, which is a new moon happening on the 14th of October at 21 degrees of Libra. But what does that mean for you personally? That's what we're going to be discovering in today's video. My name is Anjani Siegrist. I have been a professional astrologer since 2014. I'm the author of the book, The Alchemy of Intimacy, which uses relationship astrology to help discover and reclaim your love life, your inner beloved, as I call it. So how this video today is going to benefit you, it's going to teach you step by step how to look at your chart and understand how these transits that are happening on a day-to-day basis, and also the bigger transits of the eclipse seasons, Pluto moving retrograde over a certain part of your chart. We're going to clarify how all of those transits impact you personally. So we're going to do that by looking at a chart, walking through astro.com, and I'll clarify which pieces on the chart you need to look at, what you don't need to pay attention to. And this will help clarify many things for you in the astrology world. So this is the website I like to use, astro.com. You can see here the art of astrology. You're going to scroll down, select charts and calculations. And I do have another video going through this more slowly. If you need more time, I'll attach the link down below so you can figure out and play around with this a little bit more in depth. So here we have Morris Chestnut, and we're going to be looking at a natal chart wheel. And we can do this here with the date of the 14th of October. Let's look at that. What that's going to do is pull up the date of the 14th of October. You're going to hit this with transits. So it'll show his chart in the center, and then it'll show the transits in the outer circle. So let's go ahead and get reacquainted, or maybe this is acquainted for the first time for you with the chart. This circle in the center represents the Earth. This X represents you on Earth. This inner circle represents a snapshot of the moment you were born. This outer circle here in the green is a moment of the day that you picked. So for this, it happens to be the 14th of October. So this will show us where what we're going to be looking at is Libra, because that is where the full moon, the new moon is. So we'd want to see how that was going to be impacting this person. And so we would look here, we see the sun and moon together, and we can see that Mercury is nearby, and that's going to be at 21 Libra. So we see that he was born with Spica at 21. There's nothing really exact that's going to be impacted by the lunar eclipse, but one thing that we do see, so even if you don't have something at the exact same degree as whatever the astrological event that we're looking for, you will still pay attention to the fact that that lunar eclipse, that's a solar eclipse, new moon, is happening in the third house. So there can be some new moon, which has to do with a new beginning, and a solar eclipse is going to be like a year's worth of new beginnings in that area. So we're going to be able to see that there's something changing in third house matters. So now you can see, you will need to understand first what planets that you have there. Say you have your moon at 21 degrees of Libra, or within I would use a 6-degree range. So maybe you have something at 18 degrees Libra. You will know that your moon is being impacted by that solar eclipse. And you would also need to know the meaning of the house positions. But don't worry, I have a video for you that goes over the meanings of the houses, the meanings of the planets, and can help you understand. It takes some time. Like this website says, it is an art and it does take some time. It's a language that you will need to learn to understand. But eventually, learning some of these pieces will really help you to understand what's happening. If you're interested in astrology and you want to know more about it. So another thing you can do here is hit chart selection, and you can go to Sinistry Chart, and then you can look right here and put in, you would have to draw up another chart. I just happen to have the moon here already. So you would add in the time of the event, which today it's going to be the solar eclipse, new moon. And now what we have is known as a synastry chart, where you're basically taking the event, or you can put another person there, which we'll talk about that at another time to compare charts, which is called the synastry chart. But I will sometimes use a synastry chart to compare an event like a solar eclipse. The only thing that I find a little bit troublesome about this is that you cannot see the exact degrees of the planet. So you can get a visual and see that Chiron is going to be exact. It looks exact anyway to this person's Saturn. And you can see that here the sun and moon will be together near the south node. And you can still see that it's in the person's third house, but you cannot see the exact degree numbers. And that can be troublesome when you're starting off, which is why the first way that I showed might be a little bit easier, but never fret. There is this little tool down here, which will show you exactly what you're looking at. Sun, so you can see the symbols and you can see the exact degree numbers for what everything is. For some people, this works great because you have a better visual of where things are. But for me personally, usually I would use the other way. So I'll go back to that. Okay, so now we have this nice, easy look at this person's chart. And again, this circle is the Earth. This in the inner circle is a map of the sky at that time the person was born, and this in the green is a map of the eclipse. So what you want to look at is what planets might be directly impacted by a conjunction, and you want to see first and foremost those two things, the house and what other planets would be at the same degree as the sun and moon, which is going to be 21 degrees for the solar eclipse. The other thing, when you get a little bit more advanced, this is the basic things. The next thing you want to do is look right across the way, and we can see that at the time of this eclipse, Chiron is over here at 18 degrees, and that's going to be making an exact conjunction to this person's Saturn. So this person might have something going on with his father, with his authority in his life, the structures of his life. Not so much father. Father is more looking at the sun, but it could be something related to his authority figures in his life, which father comes to mind right away for me. But more so, the sun, transits to the sun will directly speak about the father. So maybe there's something going on in his life with that. That's going to be a longer issue that this person has going on. But the eclipse, because the sun and moon are going to be at 21, that is close opposition with Chiron, that's going to be impacting everybody. So that Chiron opposition to the new moon will be part of this solar eclipse. So I would definitely look at, if this were your chart, what is going on with your joints, because Saturn also can talk about your joints, your hair, your bony structures, and also the structures in your life. So you're also would be looking at the 9th house, because that is going to be also impacted at the time of the eclipse. So now you have four things to work with. What planets are near the 21 degree of the eclipse? What planets are in opposition? And then because Chiron is happening to be in opposition to the eclipse, you would also be looking for any planets that are within about, since Chiron moves more slowly, it would need to be more of a 1 to 2, possibly 3-degree orbs. And what I mean by that is that if Chiron's at 18, you would be looking at 19, 20, maybe 21 degrees. And then you would also be looking at 18, so 17, 16, possibly 15 degrees of Aries, and see what planets you have in that within that degree range. The next thing that I would do if this were my chart or somebody who I was reading for is I would go ahead and look to the cardinal signs and see if they had anything around 21 degrees of the cardinal signs. That is, that would be Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn. So now we would look over here to 21 degrees. You can see this person doesn't have anything at those points. And the reason I'm saying to look at the cardinal signs is because any placements that you have in the cardinal signs around the 21 degree mark will be impacted by a square. A square is meant to be something challenging, and especially with anything during eclipse season, it will be felt. All right, so you may also want to look at the house of the cardinal signs on your chart to get an idea of what will be impacted by a square. I'm going to tell you, this is important for the next 18 months because we have the nodal axis, North Node here in Aries. This is our second eclipse that we're having on this axis. The first one was in April. And the South Node is down here in Libra. What I just realized is that Morris Chestnut will be having a nodal return within this time frame. It looks like it'll be next year. The nodal return for him will be next year. So that generally nodal returns are amazing. I'm not going to get into the nodal return right now, but we can see that this in fact will be happening, and it will probably be something very big. I would call, just in short, I would say, oh, this is going to be a big year. And until we looked deeper into what everything meant, which we're not going to do right now, you can just, it's something that you can easily see. So these areas that I've highlighted here of your chart are going to be greatly impacted for the next 18 months. So you want to get to know, so if this were your chart, we would be looking at house 3 and 9 as the main areas that will be greatly reworked during this time. And then we would look at 6 and 12 as areas that will be challenged, and there will be some dynamic aspects that are happening in the solar and lunar eclipses. I almost said solar and lunar returns, but this will be impacted during the eclipses. So I hope this video has helped you to understand how to find the transits Let's see if there's anything else I can use for an example. That's the main thing for the eclipses and for just the main events happening. I guess I can use one more example because there's a couple of other cool things to look at. But here's Saturn, who is currently at 1 degrees Pisces and who's going to be moving very slowly for the next 2 months, pretty much staying right here at this 1 degree point. You can see that this person has Pisces going through, Saturn going through their 8th house, and they don't have any planets nearby. But using what we just discovered, you can look, since this is a mutable sign, you would look at the other mutable signs. You could look right across the way over here at Virgo and look at 1 degrees. Well, there's nothing there for Morris Chestnut, his fine self. But you would look at the other mutable signs also of Gemini and Sag to look at what squares might be happening. There's no squares there. This wasn't a very good example chart. But if you had something within that, I would even say between 0 and 7, because, was it 7? Yes. Because Saturn has traveled since March 7th. Saturn entered Pisces, traveled forward to 7 degrees of Pisces, and then retrograded backwards to, it's going to go back to 0, and then it'll go forward and past that 7-degree mark again. So whatever you have between 0 and 7 of Pisces has been greatly impacted by Saturn, which brings a sense of groundedness. It wants to make something solid. In the sign of Pisces, it is solidifying ethereal, spiritual, dreamy. So anything that has to do with dream work, spirituality, anything that has to do with your internal waters, with your visions, wants to make a structure out of those things. Saturn transits want to make a structure out of Pisces' ethereal nature. And whatever planets that you have in that 0 to 7 degree area will be Saturnine. There's like Saturn is coming to ground and make that part of you become very solid. So for instance, I have my Mars at 6 degrees, and there was a retrograde. It went over it, it retrograded, and then it'll go back over it again, which is asking to bring solidity to my boundaries, my masculine force, the way I assert myself. These are all Mars words. So a Saturn transit to anything, Saturn is going to make something real. It's going to want to bring it all the way into form and slow things way down to make that happen. And that's happening for everybody in the Pisces areas of your life. If you have a planet there, now I used Mars. Mars is the planet of bravado and strength, courage, ability to fight for something and to assert one's will. I call this penetrating reality with your will. That's Mars. So Saturn transiting a natal Mars is asking for that Mars planet to slow way down, to get really grounded, and to solidify its bravado, to make it real. So that's kind of how you would look at a transiting planet that's here in the outer circle, transiting to a planet that is on your chart. Definitely hire an astrologer to help you. I think even just getting one reading can really help your education. It can help to make sense of everything that you listen to. If you listen to people on YouTube talking about astrology, and every time there is a transit and you're super interested in like, what does this transit mean for me? As soon as you get one reading, it's going to make a lot more sense to you, the way this all works. And if you want to learn more, I have a very elaborate class which will go through and teach you all the archetypes of all 12 of the zodiac signs. Oh, you know what? Let me show you one more thing, because this is something I go over repeatedly in my course because I find it to be extremely helpful. So something that you can start to get used to repeating in your head. If you do take my course, you will hear me saying this on repeat, because the repetition is very, very helpful to not get confused about the difference between a sign, the house, and the planets. So the sign is like the adverb. It is the way in which something is acting. So let's use over here, because he's got Gemini. That is the adverb. The planet is going to be the force. It is going to be the action. It is what is happening. The sign is the way in which that planet is acting. The house is the area of life that the drama unfolds. So it's very easy to get these things confused. And a lot of astrologers actually do talk about the house in the same context that they would talk about a sign. And they're two separate things. The house is the area of life that this planetary force is acting within, and the sign is the way in which that planetary force is acting. So I repeat this over and over and over. Every time we start a new module and we're looking at a sign, a house, and a planet, we constantly are reaffirming this concept, because this will really be the key to unlocking everything in astrology, to get to know the layers of astrology, the signs, the ways, and this is also areas of the sky and the tropical zodiac. And then the houses, the areas of life in which the drama is unfolding. And then the planets, which are the main characters. They are the nouns, you can call it, the person, places, and things of life that take action. So thank you so much for joining me for this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If you're part of the Telegram group, you can go ahead and ask the questions right there in Telegram. If you want to join the Telegram group, there'll be an invitation link down below in this video. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to connecting with you again very soon.